Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squad for boxing news and views from around the internet. And I'm going to do a heavyweight news mashup today with about 5 different stories in about 10 minutes or so. I'll squidge it all in, rapid fire stuff, starting with this whole situation with Andy Ruiz Jr. and the rematch. So he's taken to social media to talk to his fans, saying, "To my fans and supporters, I'm looking forward to #RuizJoshua2. My team and Eddie Hearn continue talking and working on the details to make it happen." And what that means, well, who knows, because obviously Ruiz has indicated he wants it to be in America. He doesn't want to go to Saudi Arabia. He wants it on his own terms. Seemingly, there's some water to flow under the bridge on this story. Whether it's about money or whether he really believes he can sort of defy the contract, it remains to be seen. But in respect of the rematch, so Ruiz has also said, "I have a bigger commitment. I have to do more, not just make history, but win this fight," Ruiz told ESPN Deportes. "I must have the hunger, the faith, the desire to win, and show people that my victory was not a stroke of luck. We worked hard. I went down and I got up like a warrior, and I knocked him down not once, but 4 times. I have to be prepared. My combinations are strong. Not only do I throw 1 or 2 punches, there are 3 and even more being thrown at a time. And that is something that I have to do to win. We will also try to lose some pounds, just a little lighter than the last fight. They are things that we have to improve. It will be difficult, and we are training hard because we know that the fight will be tough. He will want to come in and take my belts, but it will not be that easy." Andy Ruiz Jr.'s statements to ESPN Deportes. So he said he'll come in a little lighter, and previously he said it would be a lot lighter. So I think some of this could be mind games with Ruiz, because the formula worked for the first fight. Maybe being in slightly better condition, a few pounds lighter will be handy, especially if the fight goes deeper. But yeah, it remains to be seen what his weight will be, but he was 268 for the first fight. I think maybe closer to 260 might suit him, especially in terms of the cardio sort of end of town. But he's also spoken about wanting to get to 245 or 250 to be leaner, to be more toned. Yeah, we'll see what happens, because I guess they'll just judge that during training camp and see how he's tracking. They're not going to want to sort of drain him down if it's going to sort of take anything away from him. Okay, to the next thing. Tyson Fury, a very curious post on his Instagram. So you can see here, what he's done, he's put the WBC and the WBA rankings side by side. And he says, "This is the latest boxing rankings from at WBC Boxing and WBA Boxing Official. If you look closely at these rankings, you can see that my next opponent is ranked number 4 WBA, and Wilder's next opponent is ranked number 4 WBC. Just stating facts for all to see. #Nuff said." And the implication for that is that Wallin is number 4, Ortiz is number 4. Tyson Fury is drawing parallels between the two. He is trying to say that Otto Wallin is on the same level as Luis Ortiz. And I know that there will be some Tyson Fury supporters who will want to eat this up and agree with him, but I mean, patently, Luis Ortiz, is a much better fighter and much more proven fighter than Otto Wallin, who is a fringe contender at best, and he hasn't done much in the division to date, although he is a skilled fighter, just unproven, whereas Ortiz has actually fought at a good level. He's beaten some good competition, the likes of Christian Hammer more recently. You've had the Bryant Jennings win, which is the best win on his record. But in terms of them being on the same level, I mean, Tyson Fury is really pulling, our leg on this one. He is just trying to legitimize the choice of this opponent. Wallin is 6'5", unbeaten. Seemingly, this is a overmatched opponent for Tyson Fury to go in there and have a bit of a glorified sparring session and walk away with millions of dollars. I mean, that's really what it sort of boils down to. And this is his second fight on his ESPN deal. And I still don't know if this is really going to do much for him, his profile, and the chances of building to a bigger rematch with Deontay Wilder. Because that feels like, even though it might be inevitable that the rematch is going to happen, it feels like we might just have lost a year and not got the rematch, and it probably isn't going to be any bigger than it maybe otherwise would have been, because it just kind of feels like Tyson Fury is facing guys, safe opponents. Deontay Wilder is facing a higher caliber of opponents, but it's also, I mean, no one was really calling for the Luis Ortiz rematch. But Tyson Fury, he's having a laugh here, trying to draw a parallel between Wallin and Ortiz, saying that it's facts. Well, it is a fact that they are ranked number 4 each in the respective sanctioning bodies, but that doesn't mean that the talent level is on a par. Because that sort of spurious reasoning, you could also build with that sort of reasoning, Tyson Fury is now number 2 in the WBC. He's now number 2 in the WBO. He recently overtook Tom Schwartz in the WBO as number 2. So does that mean that Fury and Schwartz, because they were both number 2 in a short space of time in that same sanctioning body, are as equally good as each other? It's just an argument that just makes no real sense. Like this one by Tyson Fury of Wallin and Ortiz, the parallel that he's trying to draw without outright saying that they are the same. Moving on, Lennox Lewis has responded even more on social media. So you may recall Anthony Joshua called him a clown. Lennox Lewis originally, a whole bunch of comments which I covered in a video about a day or so ago, but he's also come out and said, AJ has my number. If he ever wants to clarify what is being said in the media or show me where I'm wrong about something, my doors remain open to him, but just know that disrespect is not an answer to his frustrations. Gotta go catch a flight now. Bless. He also said, here's the first AJ, not the next Lennox Lewis. Like I said, I won't fall into that trap and be pitted against him. He has a watershed moment in his career coming up, and all this only serves as a distraction by the media. Notice how they only led with his comments about me. And he's referring to Sky Sports. But part of that is because they've got this new show. He made these comments as part of a segment for that show. Of course, they're going to push the strongest angle from that interview. That is actually just what the media does. They will lead with the strongest line. So I'm not really sure Lennox Lewis is really up on the play on that one. And he says, I don't blame AJ as much as I blame the people around him that stoke the fires. I have remained at an arm's distance from AJ to respect that he wants to make his own way. I'm sure he also gets sick of the constant comparisons to me over his entire career. Actually, do a lot of people make comparisons between Lewis and Joshua constantly? There might be the odd one, but yeah, Anthony Joshua and Lennox Lewis, they're not often paired in the same sentence. And generally when it has been, it's because Lennox Lewis has maybe said something that has made the media. It's sort of been perceived as criticism of Joshua. And that has sort of led to this whole jealousy narrative that has been floating around for some time now. But Lennox Lewis was not happy that he was called a clown, and he does feel disrespected by this. Moving on, Alexander Usyk, it's been confirmed Chicago is when he is going to be having his first fight at heavyweight. See here, Usyk is coming October 12th, the Wintrust Arena. And interestingly, Carlos Takam has not been confirmed as his opponent, not yet, and it had been seen as almost a lock with stories about a week or so ago saying that Takam was locked in and it was all barred just to be announced, but apparently there is obviously some sort of fly in the ointment. And maybe that fly in the ointment is because you can see here on screen, Carlos Takam just a couple of days ago announced that he'd signed with Star Boxing, saying Star Boxing signs Takam, help us in welcoming heavyweight title contender. And a quote in another tweet, I've had several propositions on the table, but with Joe DeGuardia, the way I see it, I have a good feeling that we can achieve my potential together. That's a Carlos Takam statement. This is, from his Twitter feed. And Carlos Takam, what is he hoping to achieve together? He is in the sort of twilight of his career now. He's 38. He's had the losses are starting to pile up for him now. Obviously, there was the Derek Chisora knockout almost a year ago. But he was slated as the opponent for Alexander Usyk, but that is not locked in. So we will have to see what happens, because I think many of us saw Takam as a pretty viable and credible opponent for Usyk in his first fight at heavyweight. Maybe it will get over the line, maybe it will be made, maybe they're just going to try and renegotiate for some more money to have Takam as the opponent, but hopefully it is somewhat halfway credible, because Usyk is at the point where he needs to sort of really get cracking, because he's the WBO mandatory. He's going to have a title shot in the next year. He can't afford to have, low-level fights against, nothing sort of journeyman. That's not where he is at his stage in his career. He's got to step up to a certain level and keep building. And I just wanted to touch on just finally, so the Wilder and Ortiz rematch is now targeted for November 23. This sort of was floating around a day or two ago, but I didn't manage to get to it because of other things going on. But essentially, the November 9th date that had been sort of bandied around for some time, it's seemingly pushed back to November 23, and they're looking at Las Vegas. So we'll have to see what happens here, because I mean, some of this is all speculation and effectively just sort of says now the date is now, pushed back a couple of weeks potentially, but the November 9th date is potentially still on the table. So seemingly we're no further ahead on what's happening. Deontay Wilder a week or so ago had said there's still a few details to work out. Yeah, it really has gone quiet on this, and it remains to be seen where they will fight and how much interest is there going to be in this rematch, because it wasn't one people were begging for. And if it was one of these sort of cases, if it was going to happen, maybe it needed to happen immediately. There was a little bit of controversy with the extra seconds Wilder was given after he was hurt between rounds. The doctor comes to the canvas. It felt like if there was going to be a rematch, it would have, made sense to do it immediately. But kind of like the Dillian Whyte and Derek Chisora one, the further away we got from that first fight, I think fans' interest sort of waned in that rematch, and it was only when Derek Chisora got a really good knockout win over Carlos Takam, that the interest in the rematch sort of bubbled up again. And Ortiz hasn't necessarily had some sort of standout performances since his loss to Wilder in March 2018 to sort of get people interested, really G'd up for the rematch. I mean, I'm sure it'll be a good fight, and Ortiz is a chance in the fight, but he's 40 years old now. He's not getting any younger. He's not going to get any better, and this rematch needs to happen sooner rather than later for him. But I just don't feel like there's that whole sort of big fight buzz like there was for the first one, and that was obviously, to that point in Deontay Wilder's career, the biggest fight of his career, and people saw that as a pretty decent step up from some of the opposition that he had been facing in his championship career. And he has come through that test. He's also had a draw with Tyson Fury since then, but it kind of feels now, this rematch, did we really need to see it? I'm not so sure, but I guess that's the fight we're going to get. What do you make of it all? Drop a comment loud and often, hit like, hit subscribe, follow me on Twitter, boxing_squared. I'm out.